Okay, let's discuss about the uh, radioactive decay, few examples of radioactive decay, and applications of radioactive materials. A radioactive element disintegrates itself by emitting an alpha or beta or gamma particle. It is stated in the form of decay law. The rate of disintegration of radioactive element at any instant of time is proportional to the actual number of atoms of parent element at that instant is called radioactive decay. The radioactive decay is based on the group displacement law stated by Sudi, Fussell, Russell. When an element emits an alpha particle, the mass number varies 4 units and atomic number by 2 units. Accordingly, the daughter element is 2 places to the left of the parent element in the periodic table. When an element emits beta particle, the mass number remains same and the atomic number is increased by 1 unit. The daughter element is placed to the next group or towards right side of the parent element in the periodic table. Here I am taking an example that is alpha emission. Uranium having isotope of 238, if it emits alpha particle, then itself is converted into thorium, more particularly 234. If we are calculating the N by P ratio, N means neutron and P means proton. Neutron of uranium is 238 minus proton of uranium is 92 and the proton ratio that will give you 1.58. This is the N by P ratio. N by P ratio, if it is more than 1.5, it indicates that it is an unstable and it undergo disintegrates and emits alpha, beta, or gamma until reaches the stable isotope. Similarly, when you are finding out N by P ratio for the thorium, 234, 234 minus 90, 90 is the proton one, by 90, that is equal to 1.6. This N by P ratio of thorium 234 also indicate 1.6. That means this is also a unstable and it undergoes emits alpha, beta, gamma to come stable form. That is 82 is the means lead is the stable one and the mass number of lead should be 206. Right. Here I am taking one more example, that is beta emission, more particularly sodium, which is having a 24, is an isotope, and this emits beta, means beta emission, and sodium gets converted into magnesium. That means moving towards the right side of the periodic table. And when we are calculating the N by P ratio of the sodium 24, it is 1.18. That means it is an isotope. And when we are calculating the N by P ratio for the magnesium, it is 1. That indicates that it's a normal. Then I'm taking one more example, that is C14. C14 undergoes emits beta emission and converted into a N14, means nitrogen 14 isotope. For the nitrogen 14 isotope is not an isotope, it's a normal molecule because N by P ratio is 1. Whereas the C14 one, N by P ratio is the 1.33, that means it is an isotope. I'm taking an example of emission of positron. Positron means +1 E0 is the positron. And here atomic number is moving towards the left side of the periodic table. That means neon is converted into fluorine. When we are calculating N by P ratio for the neon and the fluorine, for the neon 0.9, it's unstable, and N by P ratio for the fluorine 1.1. that means it is an isotope. Similarly, we can one more example of positron emitting one is the C10 isotope. C10 isotope emits positron and converted itself into a boron 510. And for the boron, N by P ratio is 1. 1 means N by P ratio 1 means stable and normal molecule. Then example of electron capture, beryllium when undergoes electron capture itself is converted into lithium, and N by P ratio for beryllium is 0.75 and N by P ratio for the lithium is 1.33. Similarly, for the potassium, when it undergoes electron capture, itself is converted into stable argon 41. N by P ratio for the potassium 40 is 1.1, that means isotope, and N by P for the argon 1.22, that's also a isotope. Then let's go to the examples of gamma radiation. Gamma radiation means no changes in the atomic number as well as the mass number. Points to be remembered means atomic number is nothing but a number of proton, that is equal to Z. Then mass number is equal to a number of protons, that is equal to a, the plus neutron, that is equal to A. Number of neutron is equal to mass number minus atomic number. Particles of nucleus means proton and neutron are known as nucleons. Then nuclear species with particular number of protons and neutrons is known as nucleotide. The unit of radioactivity is curie. 1 curie is equal to 3.7 into 10 to the power of 10 disintegration per second. 1 curie means 3.7 into 10 to the power of 7 disintegration per second. 1 microcurie means 3.7 into 10 to the power of 4 disintegration per second. This is an example how one can calculate the mass defect, and here I am taking the role of isotope in finding out the reaction mechanism. We know that photosynthesis is nothing but a conversion of carbon dioxide and water. More particularly, plants synthesize carbohydrate by consuming carbon dioxide and water in presence of sunlight. Suppose if you want to know that carbon dioxide is the raw material used for the carbohydrate synthesis, then carbon dioxide can be labeled with C14. That means C14 carbon dioxide is taken, and if that C14 carbon dioxide is used for the photosynthesis, then the carbohydrate obtained one should be the C14. This is how the reaction mechanism can be determined by using isotopes. This will be the one example for use of isotopes in finding out a reaction mechanism. Then see, calcium 14 and phosphorus 32 have been used by the scientists to study the nutrient uptake of efficiency of uptake of micronutrients like calcium and phosphorus by plants has been studied. The optimal quantity and the time of application of calcium and phosphorus fertilizer can be ascertained. The uptake of micronutrients, that is tracer elements such as cobalt, copper, manganese, zinc, manganese, molybdenum, zinc has been studied. Tritium has been used to measure the rate of uptake. Movement and distribution of water right from plant roots to their foliage level. Milk producing process in cows have also been studied by monitoring radioactive by using P32 in the milk protein. Casein, after the injection in the form of P32 labeled inorganic phosphates. This helps to attain maximum production of milk. Then application of radioactive isotopes in medicine falls into two categories. One is as a diagnostic tool and other one is a therapeutic agent in the treatment of certain diseases or in the abnormal conditions in the body. For example, iodine 131 is used to study the functioning of thyroid gland, which is the center of iodine metabolism in the body. Iodine 131 is used to measure the liver activity and fat metabolism. Phosphorus 32 and arsenic 74 have been used for the location and identification of malignant tumor. That means for the detection of cancer cells. Then cobalt 58 used to study the vitamin B12 metabolism in the body. That means vitamin B12 disease can be identified by using cobalt 52 isotope to measure the efficiency of absorption of vitamin B12. Okay, then cobalt 60 and gold 198, radon 226, and iodine 131 are used to treat cancer patients and also used in radiation therapy. Use of radioisotope in the food preservation. Cobalt 60 is used as a gamma source to sterilize food. Unlike pesticides and other chemicals, the technique levels leaves no residue on the food products. In many cases, gamma irradiated foods remain the fresh longer period of time. Then one of the important application of radioactive, more particularly C14, is the radiocarbon dating. Radiocarbon dating means finding out the how much old of a plant, how much old of a ideal, or even it is possible to find out. It is also useful in finding out the days or the number of years after the death of animal or plant by using carbon 14 data. How it is used? You know that atmosphere contains nitrogen. Nitrogen irradiated with the cosmic rays present in the atmosphere and thereby releases the carbon 14. This carbon 14 easily oxidized to carbon dioxide 14. This carbon dioxide 14, when the plants consumes and converted into carbohydrate. This carbohydrate is taken by the living beings as well as the plants as well as the living beings. When the plant is death or the living being's death, then C14 started disintegration. Based on the C14 disintegration and its half-life, age of the plant or age of the archaeological ideals and the age of the death can be found out. Then basically there are three things that can happen. The radiation may pass through the cell without doing any damage to the cell. The radiation may damage the cell so that the cell not only form to repair itself but reproduces itself in the damaged form. That is called biological response. The radiation may cause so much damage, cells die. Then these are the chart and the less than 0.1 level means no detectable biological effect. More than that, it has an effect, and 5 to 10% one will be the highest level, and here almost 100% deaths at higher dosages. Then these are the rules, safety rules when we are handling the radioactive elements. And radio labeling. This is one technique used to track the passage of an isotope, an atom with a detectable variation through a reaction, metabolic pathway, or a cell called radioactive labeling. Labeling of nucleic acid, more particularly, you know that nucleic acid and nucleic acid contain phosphoric acid. Without phosphoric acid is called nucleic acid, whereas the nucleotide means it contains phosphoric acid. So if we are labeling with the phosphoric acid, then we can trace the nucleic acid, DNA molecule in the living system. That is the idea behind the radioactive labeling. Then Isotope labeling of nucleic acids has been conducted by incorporating nucleotides containing radioisotopes. Such radio-labeled probes contain the nucleotides with radioisotope, often P32, P33, S35, and tritium. Right. Uh, at this stage, I will stop, and the next class I will continue.